It's Bullseye. I'm April Wolfe, in for Jesse Thorn. I'm a film critic for The Village Voice. Over here at MaxFun, I'm a panelist on the movie podcast Who Shot Ya and host of Switchblade Sisters, where every week I invite a new female filmmaker on and they select their favorite genre film. We're talking about horror, exploitation, sci-fi, and so many others. And then we slice and dice that film with riveting discussion on craft of filmmaking. Anyway, let's get to our first guest this week, Bo Burnham. If you know Bo Burnham's work, maybe you saw his stand-up act. His latest was Make Happy, which debuted on Netflix in 2016. Maybe you've seen him act in The Big Sick, Parks and Rec, or Zach Stone is Gonna Be Famous, his MTV show. He's also one of the original YouTube hitmakers, before Justin Bieber, before Rebecca Black, before Leave Britney Alone even. Bo became internet famous back in 2006 when he set up a camera in his bedroom and started belting out songs like My Whole Family Thinks I'm Gay and Welcome to YouTube.
Because YouTube is a place for people to share their ideas. If by people you mean 13-year-old girls, and by ideas you mean how they love the Jonas Brothers. I'm just kidding, but let's be honest, that's a hefty majority. And if you don't believe me, well then you must be a noob. So welcome to YouTube.
Fast forward over a decade later, and Bo's created a film that, in a lot of ways, rejects the medium that got him famous. It's called 8th Grade. The movie follows Kayla, a 13-year-old wrapping up her last week of middle school. She's quiet, like a lot of 13-year-olds. She's also a little awkward, like a lot of 13-year-olds. And like pretty much every 13-year-old today, she's extremely online. She snaps, she texts, she runs a YouTube channel nobody watches. And through Kayla, 8th Grade tells us a story that's both uniquely 2018 but also totally universal, a movie about identity, school, the human condition. So let's take a listen to a little bit from 8th Grade. Kayla, played by Elsie Fisher, is shadowing a high schooler named Olivia, played by Emily Robinson. They become friends, and then Olivia invites Kayla to the mall. And in this scene, the kids gather around the food court and get to know Kayla just a little bit more.
She's a different generation than us.
She's not a different generation.
Yeah, she is.
She's 4 years younger than us. I mean.
Okay, but people who are like 4 years older than us felt like 50 years old.
It's like blatantly not true.
Your sister?
My sister just sucks.
Okay, but like, on top of that, she didn't have Twitter in middle school, and we did. That made us different.
Kayla, you're not different than us.
Well, yeah. When did you get Snapchat? What grade?
5th grade.
Fifth grade?
Jesus
What? Yo, see?
Bo Burnham, welcome to Bullseye.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
First off, when did you get Snapchat?
I never got Snapchat, actually. I think I had it for like a week 2 years ago when I was trying to, I don't know, get the word about a special or something. And I was so confused by it immediately that I stopped. And Snapchat was the first thing I think I came in contact with, social media-wise, where I was like, whoa, I am old. I have no idea how this works or even how this appeals to someone.
I have to say, this movie that you wrote and directed, 8th Grade, it punched me in the heart in such a good way. But I sat in the theater and almost had a panic attack just watching her. It hit very close to home, as I'm sure that it will for many other people. And for so many filmmakers, their debut feature, and 8th Grade is your debut feature, everyone says, this is your most personal film. This is the first, the one where you introduce yourself to the world. How personal is this to you?
It's very, very personal. It's more emotionally personal than it is circumstantially personal. You know, it's about a 13-year-old girl. I was never a 13-year-old girl. I was also never a 13-year-old right now. And I was really trying to set out to not make a nostalgic movie that was about my past experience, but was really about my current feelings. And I was coming to terms with my own anxiety when I was writing this, and wanted to talk about it, and wanted to talk about my relationship with the internet in a way. And I don't know, I guess I was feeling nervous and scared and weird and unsure, and I found commonality in a 13-year-old girl's feelings. And it's almost like she lives my feelings in my life more purely than I do.
It feels almost, watching it, like it's an exorcism of sorts. Like I have to get this out.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. I love that. That's very, very nice. Yeah, there's just something so visceral about that time, for all 13-year-olds, just the feeling of that time. And then, in investigating the story and looking at kids online, There was just a certain type of kid that was really deeply asking sort of deep personal existential questions of herself, and that's sort of what the story became, I guess.
I'd like to go a little bit more into these people that you were looking at online. I know that you had done research watching these YouTube videos and finding young people who were trying to express themselves, looking into a camera. Yeah. And I was wondering, if you could tell us a little bit about some of the more profound things that you learned about these kids when you were watching these videos, something that you really felt like you had to express through this movie.
Yeah, it's just the profound thing for me is how just raw and honest and human the internet can be in the way people express themselves on it. It's usually seen as the exact opposite, and the internet usually self-selects for maybe the least raw or honest or most performed raw, fake, confessionalism that maybe isn't actually true. But if you can search the internet in the right way, I would search for videos and sort it by upload date instead of view count. So you're actually seeing kids that posted a video 30 minutes ago, to their 12 subscribers, and no one's seeing it. And it's a video about something like how to be popular, how to be cool, how to dress correctly. And the way they present themselves is just very beautiful, and they're lying, but it's transparent, and that's refreshing. And it's sort of like the mechanisms that we all sort of use as adults to hide ourselves and lie to each other. It's just completely transparent at that time. It's just like you can see into the machine and you can see how it's working. And like, I don't know, I saw myself in them. I found myself like forgiving myself in them by seeing, just by seeing. We tend to talk about the internet in terms of, there's just narcissistic people who want attention. And trust me, I look at my friends in their late 20s and 30s on the internet, and I just hate all of us. I think we're so embarrassing. But when I can see that same thing in a young person, when you see where it starts, which is just, wanting to be loved, wanting to connect, wanting to think yourself into being, or just be out loud in order to prove yourself maybe to yourself, those are beautiful, human, vulnerable things, and I think we forget that's where all this stuff is starting.
When you're searching, you said that you look for the upload date, but do you have any key words that you're looking for?
It's truly like you just search the most obvious thing you can ever think of, like middle school advice video, cool. And you'll get, dozens of advice videos telling them how to be cool, or how to have a best friend, or hot dog dinner, how to, and you'll find like a sad video of some guy making hot dogs in his house. Like you just that's the beautiful thing about the internet. It has an answer for everything, has a specific thing for everything you could think of. But it's just like below the surface of the people like who I was. I mean, I was someone on the internet that got attention. And we tend to kind of only talk about the internet in terms of the people that are being watched. But the majority of the internet is people not being watched and people expressing themselves to very small audiences or no audiences at all. And I find them just as, if probably more compelling than what is trending or what's usually going viral. As someone that went viral, it's incredibly uninteresting.
Yes, from an experience.
Yeah.
And you actually, you have a Netflix special, and we want to play a clip from that Netflix special. It's called Make Happy, and the special is a live stand-up routine that was performed between 2015 and 2016, I believe. And Bo, in this special, deconstructs various types of performances, and then also the blurred line between the audience and the performer in the social media age.
Okay, I had a privileged life, and I got lucky, and I'm unhappy. They say it's like the me generation. It's not. It's not. The arrogance is taught, or it was cultivated. It's self-conscious. That's what it is. It's conscious of self. What the social media? It's just the market's answer to a generation that demanded to perform. So the market said, here, perform everything to each other all the time for no reason. It's prison. It's horrific. It is performer and audience melded together. What do we want more than to lie in our bed at the end of the day and just watch our life as a satisfied audience member? I know very little about anything, but what I do know is that if you can live your life without an audience, you should do it. And now you're thinking, how the you gonna dig the show out of this weird hole? Oh, you want me to be funny and make a point? Nah. Batman. So, how do we do it?
Thank you for keeping the applause break.
No, we want to make sure that
Why do I sound so nasally
it's
and weird?
well received. People loved it.
I'm like, listen to my voice. I'm like, why am I doing this like a slam poem? Like, why am I out of breath?
But there is something to be said about, the performance. You do fall, every person falls into a kind of cadence because there is a certain thing that connects with people.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's such a different medium. And it's for me, that medium lend itself to really things that were very, very structured and word perfect. And the movie's like very, very running away from that. But that is sort of the other half of the side of the coin to this movie, which is that like I felt, and I articulated it now twice, that I have a common my experience as a performer and someone trying to express themselves is not unique to my profession. Mm-hmm. And I saw it in the kids that would come to my show. And then I wanted to sort of tell the story of one of the kids at my show. It's basically the simple version is if there was a bridge I had to walk over to write a story about a 13-year-old girl, it was built by them to me first. I felt understood by a 13-year-old girl, by 13-year-old girls before I presumed to understand them. They saw themselves in my experience, and I couldn't believe it, and then that sort of gave me the strength to feel like I could understand them as well.
Did you ever have an urge to put Kayla's character into theater class?
That's funny. Not really. It was always such a small window of time. The movie was always going to take over like 5 days at the end of school. So I wasn't going to engage in class that much. But yeah, I hope she gets involved with it. It would be a good thing for her to do. There's something very embodying about theater that's very good for young people.
Yes.
Especially young people that don't do sports. Because like sports are obviously very important. It's just very important for kids to realize they have a body and they can move their body and they're more than just, especially for kids in theater, they can be the type of kids that lock themselves up in their head like me. And the physical aspect of it is very, very, very important. And that would help Kayla, I think. I think Kayla just, taking some walks and getting out of breath for a reason other than her anxiety would be good for her.
Yeah. You're making the point to continue having physical ed classes.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but it really wasn't until later until I realized how important that was. That it's like therapeutic more than just, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they should sell it that way, though.
Well, it gets structured as like the place for the very kids that need it to sit it out and the very kids that don't need it to thrive in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That phys ed should be about the weird anxious kids that don't want to come out in their tank tops.
The other kids should maybe be forced to do theater.
Yeah, exactly. They should do Buto, and the Buto kids should play some badminton.
And you're supporting actors, these young kids. They are all incredible.
Yeah, so it was just it was really special. I got to go up and meet all the kids every Saturday. I'd go up to the town where we filmed and meet all the extras and talk to them and just have a little conversation with them, just so they felt comfortable enough so when they showed up on set they weren't terrified and intimidated. Yeah. And I'd say, like, what's your name? Do you have a special talent? And one girl, I said, what's your name? And she said her name. I said, do you have a special talent? She goes, I have eczema. So it's like another kid was eating a bell pepper like an apple. So like my job really was like, how do you just get these kids into this movie unprocessed? You know what I mean? The way they are is so much better than anything I could ever come up with. So there's references and things the kids shout in the movie that I don't even understand. I don't get, but I recognize as true. I think we all recognize like what an inside joke sounds like, even when we don't understand it.
Yes. And we need to bring up that pool party scene because the way that you shoot it, too, we see Kayla. She's invited to a pool party, not by the girl, but by the girl's mother, which is an extra layer of embarrassment. The parents are trying to fix you up.
Sweet of the mother, though.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's sweet of the mother.
Did that ever happen to you, where like someone's mother invited you to something?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can't totally remember, but I absolutely remember being at things where I was like, I am unwelcomed. Or just to feel like the hovery parents trying to make you friends with someone else. Remember, like, someone's mom trying to get me and this boy together, like, over a bag of craisins, and that was not happening. I was less interested in him than even the craisins, which was a low bar for me because I was not crazy about craisins. They're cranberry raisins, if anyone's wondering.
You two boys enjoy craisins.
Yeah. Right, is that right?
The way that you shoot that pool scene too it's pretty incredible. And Kayla, Elsie Fisher's face, portrays such incredible anxiety. She doesn't have to say anything. We just know that she's so anxious. Did you have to, what kind of direction did you give to her to tell her what to feel in that moment?
She gets it, like truly, she gets it, and she's dealt with anxiety, and we talked a lot about, we talked so much more about anxiety than like my 8th grade experience. We wouldn't talk about 8th grade. We would talk about what it felt like to be anxious in the world and how you deal with it. And,
yeah.
So she got that, and her joke was always like, I'm really good at being sad, you know what I mean? Because she would snap out of that scene and be running around the pool having fun. Like, she was not, I was the one that was like being a psycho method person, like staying in the emotion. She was able to snap in and out of it. Like, she was not miserable that day. I was so worried that I was going to have to do that. I was really worried. I was like, I don't want to have to manipulate a kid into feeling these awful emotions. And I didn't have to. Elsie just knows it. She knows what it's like to be in those situations and feel that way. And she's just able to just kind of turn it on magically. I have no idea how.
And the writing that you give them too. I mean, I'm assuming, you're telling me all these, ad libs that these kids have. Were you changing the script as you went?
No, and really the ad libs literally are just like when the kid's like LeBron James, you know what I mean? Like little, but the script itself, to the actor's credit, to Elsie's credit, is very scripted. Her monologues are written like, yeah, so the thing about being yourself is, wait, I'm reading this off a piece of paper, sorry. It was written to be inarticulate. Now, they didn't have to be word perfect. It wasn't about like, oh, you missed an but it was about, the script was hopefully giving them permission to fail to speak correctly, which is, to me, the story of being young. And the problem with most teen movies for me is that they're little poet laureates where it's like the whole point of being young is that you're beginning to learn how to think. You're beginning to learn how to speak. And your speech is an imitation of all the other ways you hear people speak. So that was important to just capture that. But you can write it as much as you want to write. The script has to be authored by the kids in every moment, in terms of looking like they are genuinely trying to speak and not reading lines.
And then, you bring up the YouTube videos, the way that she speaks for those. And in this film, Kayla is attempting to express herself by filming herself in these self-help videos that she posts online and maybe gets like 1 or 2 views, possibly from her father, which is this extra layer of tragedy. But I'd love to play a clip from that, from one of those videos. And this is Kayla telling people, how to be true to themselves.
Hey guys, Kayla back here with another video. Okay, so the topic of today's video is putting yourself out there. Okay, so like, what does that mean? Where is there? Well, there can be anywhere that you wouldn't usually go, maybe because it's like weird or scary or something like that.
The way that she speaks, every video that you have in this is so realistically a YouTube video. I feel like I'm watching it be made in real time, in real life. I mean, I'm sure that this is from your obvious your scholarship of YouTube. But how do you view the language that people use? Because it is a very similar language.
Yeah, performative. I think they know, Elsie understands the way you're told to present yourself to the world. But I think what makes the videos feel real is that Elsie feels genuine. That's what it feels like. She is genuinely trying to be understood. And that's what I felt from the kids when I watched their videos, that like, you might not know what you're talking about at all, but you want to help people. Mm-hmm. You actually want to. It's not just about lying to yourself. It's not just about vision boarding out loud. It's also like, I remember being that age and having a real want to, like, the moment I learned something, to change the world with it. You know, I think that's beautiful. The irony of it is that, like, for so long, I just played to young people, you know, and I wanted an older audience so bad. I wanted the cool 30, 40-year-old comedy audience and not my teen audience, which is wrong, you know. And at a certain point, I realized, like, I'm so lucky to have young people looking at my stuff. And I was told so often, oh, my God, you're just a comedian for 13-year-old girls. And then at a certain point, I was like, yeah, I am, you know what I mean, mm-hmm. and made this movie. So, yeah, I hope the kids dig it. You know, truly, I made the movie for myself. In terms of an audience, I wasn't thinking of an audience. And I especially think, like, movies in this space are bogged down by this sort of appeal to any demographic. I think trying to appeal to people looking back in that time, or just trying to appeal to kids, doesn't necessarily lend itself to something honest. So I just think everyone should be able to see themselves in her. You know, that,
yes.
that it isn't... Why can't an epic story about the human condition be about a girl going into a pool party and not a guy with a sword or whatever? No offense to guys or swords. But I'm saying, like, I see myself in her. This is not a story about my younger daughter or my younger self or my younger sister. You know, this is me. And I have tended to most personally and profoundly connect to films that I don't demographically align with. Those are the movies that I have been most personally affected by, because that is something I go to the movies for and look to art for. It is so powerful for me to find commonality in somebody, and a character, an experience that I feel like I didn't have, and yet I fully understand. I mean, that's such a beautiful thing. And I felt that in the writing process, and I certainly felt that in the production with actually collaborating with Elsie. Mm-hmm. You know, everything was confirmed when I met her. I'm like, oh, we are the same person. We are wired similarly. I have so much more in common with you than I have most men my age.
You mentioned the idea that, you know, we can all see ourselves in Elsie, and I also feel like maybe younger people can potentially see themselves in the father, and maybe understand, you know, where that's coming from. And I think it'd be great if we could play a clip from one of their conversations. It's from the part where the father is dropping off Kayla, and she's wrapping up her last week of middle school. And it's just so beautiful, kind of, it almost feels off the cuff. It feels so real. And let's just listen to her dad dropping Kayla off.
Can you not look like that, please?
What? Like what?
Just like the way you're looking.
Looking at the road?
You can look at the road, Dad. I obviously didn't mean that. Just like, don't be weird and quiet while you do it.
Sorry. Hey, how was the shadow
No,
thing?
you were being quiet, which is fine. Just like, don't be weird and quiet. Because like, I look over at you and I think you're about to drive us into a tree or something, and then I get really freaked out, and then I can't text my friends. So just like, be quiet and drive, and don't look weird and sad. Please.
Okay.
That's worse.
That's another one where, you know, that got to just be one take because they could do it, which is really. But that was the first scene I wrote.
That's the first scene that you wrote,
other than the videos. When I got out of the videos, that was the first scene I wrote.
Why was that the first one that you wrote?
I don't know. I just had them in the car. Like the way I had written it was I wrote like, I just tried to write just a bunch of things that I enjoyed, like just put her in a bunch of things that I thought I would. That I wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And then when I had 60 or 70 pages, I like read it and went, okay, how could this fit into a structure? But it was literally just, I didn't know why she was in the car. I didn't know where they were going. But yeah, it's fun. You know, it's very nice for me to like, and I've never had the experience where if you were to play any of my, you know, like when I'm listening to my stand-up show, I am trying to take my headphones off. I'm like, I can't stand doing it. It's so nice to be able to have, I've never had the experience of being able to like watch something I participated in after the fact and still enjoy it, because I don't see my hand in it. I don't see all I see is them, and all I hear is them, and I really still can enjoy. I can enjoy the performances for so long that that's a good thing. I guess that's just a side note of my own mental stuff. I think this might be the only thing I'll be able to watch in 10 years.
Because you are positively out of body.
Yeah, and that was part of it. Was like, I tried to address my own anxiety by performing it on stage in a one-man show, and that unsurprisingly turned out to not be very fruitful and actually get me further into my head. And the way to deal with anxiety is actually to speak it with other people and realize that you are not alone in this. And it's the two sides of the coin that I realized were my, salvation and my obliteration, which was I am not unique and I'm not alone. Like, the problems I'm facing are not because I'm the most special, deepest boy in the world, but also other people are feeling this, and that's a good thing.
Thank you so much for joining me here today, Bo.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the time. Thank you.
Bo Burnham, folks. 8th Grade is out in theaters now. I'm really excited about this one. We didn't get to talk about it in this interview, but if you haven't seen enough different sides of Bo, he's also written a book of poems. It's called Egghead, or You Can't Survive on Ideas Alone.